What's up everyone, Sara Dietschy, or Rhymes with Peachy here. Today, we're gonna kind of do a, what did I write in my notes? Framework for starting a business as a creative. Masterclass. A lot of this is based from my experience, and as much as I would love all of these Twitter questions and Instagram questions to be about the craft of video making, about video editing, about filming, about the artsy side of things, most of the questions that people have, whether it's you guys or I'm in the back of an Uber, is how do you make money with this? So I thought I would drop kind of like a framework that I've had in my brain, talk about some of my experiences. And the goal is that, well, one, everyone has to go through their own experiences. And so a lot of this you have to try and you learn through failure. But my main goal is that maybe I save you some time. Maybe you don't have to have as much failure as I've had throughout the past decade. And you know, I can save you a few failures because you listen to the smart Sara Peachy girl. And hey man, free 99, you don't have to pay anything. But thank you to our sponsor, Printful, for making this possible. We are going to be talking about making money as a creator today. And well, if you need to make merch where you have complete control, but you don't have to take on the headache of having inventory and doing everything yourself, Printful is a way to do it. It's what I use, and I should definitely have my phone on silent. How unprofessional of me. More about them later. Okay, let's get into this. We're gonna have some notes in this video. Okay, so as I was trying to put my anecdotes and life lessons into more of a structure, I actually went to a few YouTube subreddits to see what people had the most questions about. And honestly, it was a lot about brand deals and AdSense. And I think AdSense is the obvious one. So you make a YouTube channel, you get ads on that YouTube channel after you meet certain requirements, and then YouTube puts an ad in front of your video and you get a split of that rev share. Now, that's probably the most obvious way to make money on YouTube, and I will say it's not the easiest because in order to make a living from that, you need scale. You need a ton of views. And so that's why this video is gonna focus on pretty much everything else that you can monetize with as an online creator. It doesn't have to be a YouTuber, you could be a writer, have an email newsletter. And so that's kind of where I wanna get the juices flowing there. For example, my YouTube channel is based around me. So there's a face to it, there's a personality to it, and the type of videos that I make attract brands. So I'm not focused on the sheer scale of how many videos I can put out, how many views I can get per month to rack in the AdSense. I'm more focused on having a cohesive brand that a brand would want to sponsor a piece of content of mine, right? And so my YouTube AdSense is actually not a lot at all. You can get as low as 1,000, and I would say the average is like 2,000 to 3,000 a month. Now, if you're new to this world, you might say, oh my gosh, what? That's crazy money, and it is. If you told high school Sara that I could make that just off of YouTube AdSense, I would freak out. But the reality is, this job can actually be, kind of expensive as you hire freelancers or full-time people, and you got to keep up with the flow and buying gear and stuff. I mean, I don't have to buy, I buy a lot of camera gear, so I gotta do some extra stuff. So that's why we're gonna be talking about the 3 stages, because hopefully this video is helpful for you if you're just starting out with this whole online content creation thing, or maybe you have some momentum and you're wondering, hey, how can I take this side hustle and actually make it into a real thing? So here's my little chart here. So these are gonna be the 3 stages. So we got freelancer, we have services agency, and then we have selling a product. These are kind of the steps that I've taken through my online career throughout the past decade. And then I was like, I feel like this is a good framework for honestly anyone. And some important context for what we're going to be talking about when I say building a business. We are talking about a lifestyle business, okay? So there are several different kinds of businesses. You can't fit every single business into this pretty 2-category situation, but people consider lifestyle businesses something that is just very minimal. You don't need a ton of employees, but the revenue is going to kind of top out at around $1 million, okay? You're not striving for more of that, but you're just hey, if I can make 6 figures with something that I love to do, something creative, that is a win for me. A startup and a big business, think hundreds of employees. You're trying to scale as big as possible, and the outcome is going to be either to sell to another business and have a big exit, or to to list and be public. So over here, you're burning a ton of startup capital, you're raising money, and you just want to go big or go home. Lifestyle business, you're trying to make this sustainable. You're trying to run just like a proper business, okay? So everything that I'm going to talk about here is like you running a lifestyle business. So step one on this journey, you are a freelancer. You need to learn a skill that people will pay for. So in my world, I need video editors, I need videographers, I need YouTube thumbnail designers, all things that I pay people to do. Like an example of just a videographer here in LA, I'll pay a $500 day rate for 6 hours of filming to help me film a YouTube video when I need a second camera or I need B-roll or something like that. And I did all of this stuff before I was actually a YouTuber, right? And it's a great way to learn how to create. So I started as a B-cam shooter at a wedding. Back in the day, I think, they would pay me like $250 for the day, which was a very high stressful situation. But then I got into more editing the wedding videos as well. And so, back in my day, I'd probably get only paid like $500, maybe $1,000 for both a film and edit. But weddings nowadays, y'all, you could rake in the dough. I'm pretty sure people are paying like an average of $5,000 for a wedding video. And I know that might seem a lot, but the amount of stress that it is and the quality that is coming out of some of these wedding videos, it's worth it. Yeah, I think. If you want to pay that. You can still just like hire your cousin or do it yourself if you're creative. I actually had a ton of fun editing my own wedding video, but we're getting off track. So learning a skill that people need, right? Weddings, corporate, I did a ton of corporate interviews in the beginning where you just set up an A and a B cam. People need stories told. Of course, I'm using the lens of video, but people need writing, people need photography, it is out there and all YouTubers need help. So if you can just identify what you think is something a YouTuber will need and give them the solution, slide into the Twitter DM, email them, guys, YouTubers need help. Okay. And this is going to get you to thousands of dollars per month, depending on where you live. In the States, everything is just impossibly expensive, so you're gonna be charging more here, right? And so hopefully, like when I was a freelancer, my rent was only like $700 in Nashville. But before I dropped out of college, I was already able to pay my rent with my freelance video gigs. So this is step one, solving a problem for someone else and freelancing for them. Now, a lot of people stop here, and that is fine. It can be very stressful if there is no element of delegation, because then really the buck always stops with you, and that can be frustrating, right? But being a freelancer in this creative world is very viable. It is something where you can bring in $40,000 to $100,000, $150K a year. Again, I'm coming from the perspective of being in the States. And if you really put your head down, put in the work, and you find something that you're good about, that you're excited about, this is a lifelong career. Okay, step two. If the freelancer wants to expand, this is probably where they go. They start some type of services agency. So the first step for that is really you're just taking what you were doing via freelancing and you're hiring other freelancers to help you scale that, to get more clients, to charge more money, and to just increase your output. So for me, what that looked like as going from a freelancer to a full-time YouTuber, now I wasn't having wedding clients and corporate clients, but I have another type of corporate client that now sponsors a YouTube video. Not only do they need a piece of content, to advertise about or share about their product, but they also like the idea of like, oh wow, this is going out to an audience as well. So they get built-in distribution with the piece of video content that they already would have hired an agency for in the first place, right? So for me, the type of business that I run, I'm still pretty kind of stuck in this service agency middle. I have several freelancers that help me day to day, and I have probably anywhere from 3 to sometimes 7 clients per month. It can get a little hectic. That's why I'm so burnt out with branded content. And that lives on my YouTube channel, my socials, Instagram, Twitter, etc. I actually still do a lot of stuff for brands' YouTube channels for their YouTube channels. So that's almost similar to the work that I would have done pre-YouTube, right? But now I am also the talent in front of the camera. So as you can imagine, yeah, the way I'm doing it is very exhausting, because I still like to have control. I don't have full-time employees, but usually at this middle sector, when you're earning, mid to high 6 figures, you gotta scale, baby. You need people to help you. And so I have a lot of freelancers that help me, but I honestly am just a terrible boss because I freak out a lot, right? I'm still very emotionally attached to videos because it's just the way I express myself. And so I'm not someone who's gonna be on it every single day, giving tasks to people, right? So this takes a little bit more self-awareness. Do I want to run an agency style business, right? So other things that you can do. A lot of people on the Twitter are starting like copywriting business. That's like super hot right now. So a lot of these tweet threads that you're seeing from entrepreneurs and you know, the stars is ghostwriting. So writers will take on clients and they ghostwrite threads for them, whether it's writing for their Twitter or their email newsletter. Copywriting agencies is a big deal right now. Other things, just a classic production studio, content creation hub, right? You're doing everything that I'm doing, but the end product isn't your own YouTube channel, but it's to create content for other people. Now you can take this anywhere. Everyone needs content. How many times have I said content in this video? You could do this for other YouTubers. You could do this just for corporate clients who need social and YouTube videos. This can be taking your wedding business to the next level. I know a ton of people who just have, you know, 5 to 10 freelancers on their roster and they're shooting like 10 weddings per month at the, you know, high wedding season, which is just crazy. So here you're going to be able to scale a little bit more money, right? More money, but more responsibility, a little bit more stress, okay? Now, step number 3 is where I'm gonna talk a lot about step number 3 because in my YouTuber circle, it's what they stress out about the most, but probably what we are the worst at executing on because we're so busy with this middle thing, this like services agency that we have going on. And selling a product, digital or physical, takes so much effort. It takes expertise that a lot of YouTubers honestly don't have. And so a lot of the time they farm out that expertise to a third party or a partner. And a lot of times you get fudged over. Okay, and so a traditional business, right, would just start here. Okay, well, let's create an MVP, right? Let's create this digital or physical product, make sure it's good, make sure it's needed in the market, and then we'll worry about finding customers slowly after the fact. We'll figure out all the marketing after the fact. But doing this as a creative, right, this is probably going to be your last step. Okay, I have an audience. Okay, I have this skill in this certain creative industry, and maybe I want to create a physical or digital product. But this is going to be the hardest thing that you do. Probably has the most likelihood to fail, but probably has the most upside. Okay, so one time or reoccurring purchase. I don't know how to spell, okay? Don't judge me, guys. To a B2B, or more commonly, if you're a creator, B2C. See, this is a fun video because you get to learn that I have the handwriting of a 4th grade boy. Okay, examples. Merch, advanced merch. We'll talk about that later. Digital information product. So this could be courses, ebooks, etc. Software. Get that reoccurring revenue, right? Building something useful for people. Digital products, like we got Notion templates, LUTs is a big one for the video crowd, etc., right? And the upside for this is actually huge. You take the initial time that it takes to make this upfront, because this is the hardest part, is making the thing, because you're probably already going to be so busy and overwhelmed. You have to set aside time to actually make this thing. But once you make it is the easy part, because then people just buy it if it's useful, right? And then you can see that reoccurring revenue coming in without you doing any work, right? It feels like magic, even though you got to take that initial time to make it, right? And so that's why there's so much upside if you really figure out something that crosses over well with your YouTube, Twitter, email newsletter audience. But there's so many downfalls to this 3rd step that we're going to talk about. But hey, you see that first guy right there, merch. Hey, have you ever thought about creating your own merch? Look how beautiful this is, by the way. Made with Printful. Beautiful stitching on the trucker hat, the embroidery, somebody. And it fits well too. That's something about trucker hats that you gotta watch out for, is they're kind of weird. And so I got a ton of samples from Printful before. I was like, oh, this is the one. And then I worked with my husband, John. He's a great designer, to design the beautiful Stay Peachy logo. And we put it on some different items, and I'm just stoked on how they turned out. You guys have them too out there. I love seeing you guys rep the Peachy merch. I've actually used several different third parties for merch, and it's never really worked for me, but Printful is literally perfect. My favorite part is the fact that you don't have to compromise on anything. They have really great inventory of like blank hats and shirts and sweatshirts, all kinds of things, but they also have amazing services that go beyond just a normal screen print, but they have embroidery. You have so many options to make the merch that you want to make, but then on the other side, on the business side, it is very transparent. You see your customer information, the name, email addresses, and how much money they spend. That money goes directly into your account, and then you pay the printful fee. It's all very transparent. When you're selling a t-shirt or a hat, in that process, you say how much profit you want to make. It estimates the shipping costs. You can change the shipping costs accordingly, and so you know almost exactly how much money you're gonna make with every single purchase. And that way, they can't take advantage of you like, honestly, a lot of third parties have in the past that say, hey, we're gonna take care of everything. You sit back, we'll just pay you monthly, we got everything handled. And this is what I'm gonna talk about later in the video. Never trust people who say that, okay? Because if you don't see your own customers, if you don't see the money coming in, you don't own that product. That's not yours, and then they can just yank your chain and it's not. So it's one of my favorite parts about Printful. You don't have to hold inventory because they print on demand, but they have warehouses all over the world, so they actually ship pretty quick. It's like the best of both worlds. Printful connects with a ton of different websites. You guys know I use Squarespace, and so now for the first time, I can have my merch live natively on my Squarespace website that is also used as my creative portfolio, so it just works. It's so beautiful to have it all in one space, and they effortlessly connect. And just above all else, you know, you guys have already seen it, the product that they make is quality. It's not that cheap stuff, you know? And again, you can always get samples of different types of clothes before you put your design on them. So, hey, I would check them out. If you need to make some merch today, you can check out my link in the description below. This is something that I use that you can find on my website. So I'm not just blowing smoke. Thank you, Printful, for sponsoring this video. And guys, I mean, we're just getting started. So I hope you enjoyed the warm up, but we're gonna dive in even farther. And I'm gonna be honest, my dinner got here like 20 minutes ago. So Part 2 Sarah might be a completely different looking Sarah, but we're gonna pretend like we didn't future jump till tomorrow, okay? Printful, Printful. Thanks for sponsoring. I'm back. You guys have gone nowhere. Okay, we're gonna get back to this selling a product. I have many stories and anecdotes that will hopefully you creators out there that already have some momentum and you're looking to do that. I will say, if you think far enough where this is the first thing that you do, when you start to create something, whether it's a newsletter or a YouTube channel, you already have those LUTs or those programs ready to go, and you can instantly monetize from yourself. You can instantly somehow have that credibility. Maybe you came from an industry where you worked decades in, and so you have that credibility to start selling your own products immediately. That is kind of like the ideal situation, because then you can have complete creative control. When you are monetizing through other ways, whether it's through brand work or other stuff, I like to think that I am 99% Sara Peachy here on this YouTube channel, but you know, I'm not gonna go on some political rant that has me like riled up during the day, just because I'm like, oh, my brand is being creative and showing up for you guys and making good stuff. You know, that is my lane. And you really have to stick in a lane when you're monetizing, you know, with other companies. But where you don't have to worry about that is if you have your own product, and then you can just say whatever you want as long as that like aligns with what you're selling, right? And I think that's why outspoken podcasters are so successful on Patreon, because there is the feeling of, if I don't support this person and pay them monthly, who will, right? And honestly, I probably should have put Patreon over here. You know, you would probably think that, oh, Sara, isn't that like kind of under the services agency or even the freelancer? But keeping up with a Patreon is its own like product. It's a lot of work. I've tried it before, but I can't handle it. And so here, see, I'm already going back to selling a product. Freelancers. I was reminded when I watched the most recent MKBHD video about the new iPhone 15. So they have a videographer there that sets up sets and does really cool B-roll. He is like the vibes guy. His name is Brandon Harvard. And he does one thing and he does it really well. And this is where I think being a freelancer has the most freedom and fun, because you can choose one thing. And you know, even video editing is super broad, but maybe you're like the fastest rough cutter in all the planet. Or maybe you are are a visual effects artist who specializes in more graphical things, you know? The YouTube scene right now loves this like educational, I'm about to have a heart attack sound effect, whoosh, 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 things on the video every 2 seconds, right? Maybe that can be your specialty, right? Where this is actually really cool. Being a freelancer, being a brand in Harvard, is you can specialize in something and you can make decent bank. I know for a fact that YouTubers out there will pay a 6-figure salary to someone who can come in, and maybe they're not starting at a 6-figure salary, but they are reliable and they know if they need like a banger 30-second intro with a lot of crazy B-roll, or they need a perfect brand script, perfectly written in the YouTuber's voice, where the YouTuber doesn't even have to worry about rewriting it, those things are worth so much. And if you can get in there and prove your value via a full-time employee or a freelancer, a contractor, there is actually really good money in it. And the thing that you maintain as a freelancer is a little bit of sanity, because you don't have to worry about getting a ton of views or have a ton of influence to get work, right? You just have a few clients, you show up, you do great work, and then you live your life. You can have like hobbies. I feel like every hobby I pick up, I swear I have to like instantly monetize it. Once you get into this middle sector where like you're working 24/7, everything is content, right? Again, I'm going YouTube brain again, but just everything kind of mushes together. There's more upside, but you know, the lows can be low. And so that's the last thing that I wanted to add about the freelancer is, yes, I'm saying it as step one, but you don't have to leave that step one. It can actually be a very fulfilling life. You know, I follow some of these F1 videographers, even like an NFL videographer, and they go to the games, they go to the races, they capture some really awesome like interviews and some vibey B-roll, and they put together Instagram clips and social clips, and maybe sometimes, you know, full-length YouTube videos, and they're just living their best life. And they're doing such a good job, and I know how valuable those jobs are to these organizations. And so there are these blueprints out there for these creative jobs where you don't have to worry about, oh my God, I have to build up a YouTube channel and get sponsorships and get this and that, and I have to hire people. Like, no, you can be the person who people hire, and you just knock it out of the park and you make a good living, right? And one more thing I wanted to mention about this middle tier, this services agency, is I kind of wanted to go back to this chart on like what type of businesses we're talking about, right? We're talking about lifestyle businesses. Essentially, all of those 3 steps are lifestyle businesses, but within those, and I think specifically once you move on to this like services agency step, you kind of need to make a decision, and this helps if you can make it sooner, because this is a problem that I'm running into right now. In this world of content, right? You can be 100% personal brand, baby. That is definitely the path that I took. You know, tech and cameras, that has always been a thread through all the types of things that I make on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, wherever. But at the core, my YouTube channel is Sara Dietschy. And so I share parts of my life, right? And I think that's why people enjoy it. But it's also very difficult at times because you never have like the North Star. I have so many videos in my head that I want to make all the time, but it gets very difficult to say, well, wait, are people not going to like that because it's not a tech video? Like, oh, these types of videos are doing well on my channel right now, but what if I just want to sit down and talk about money like I'm doing now? This probably won't do as well if I made an iPhone 15 Pro review, but guess what? Because my channel is an extension of me, and I am burnt out on tech right now, guys, on the whole tech cycle, okay? So I don't want to make this video, so I'm making another video. That hurts the bottom line. That hurts views, right? But if I was just 100% a tech channel and I had a format and I could sit down and delegate everything because everything is the same, well, that's actually way easier. But there can be less upside, right? 100% personal brand, it's Sara Peachy. I get paid well with brand deals because people know whether a video has 20,000 views or 400,000 views, that the people there are going to care what I say. They're going to care about my endorsement because it's coming from me, Sara Peachy, not like this faceless blob who's just like regurgitating facts on a YouTube video, right? But there are upsides to more focused brands, a focused brand. So if I'm an example of a personal brand, a more focused brand would be Wired. It would be like a magazine brand, right? Or it would be Short Circuit from Linus Tech Tips. That is only unboxings. There is one format. It is much easier to crank out that content than even LTT's normal videos, just because LTT's videos are big ideas, evergreen, and they can change from day to day on the formatting, right? There's not one strict format, so it's harder to delegate with that. And that's always been my struggle with my own YouTube channel, is I got into this because I love making YouTube videos. I love every step of it. And delegation has been hard because that's just like boring to me, like writing SOPs and all that. I'm just like, ugh, lame, right? But recently I actually figured it out. It took a while, it took a couple years, but you know, I started with getting help with video editing. That was painful because I am a video editor first, so that just took like years and years. But hey, now Kyle is on the other side helping me out edit this video. Thanks, Kyle, right? I've trained and hired videographers throughout the years, etc., etc. And recently I got really serious about hiring writers, and I started with writing the branded content because I really do not like looking at a 6-page PDF, distilling the points down on what I need to say, relating it back to my content, etc. And because that's a little bit more straightforward, I had some success with that, hiring a writer and getting the ball rolling with that. But in order to make delegation more successful, you have to fit things more into a format. And so as I started to try to do that, I was like, oh wait, no, I hate this though. I just want to make a video when it pops in my head, and a lot of it has to come from my head. It can't come from a random writer. And like I said, there's benefit to that. You know, there's like a more genuine connection you have with your audience, but the biggest downside is scale. And so there are times where I'm like, I wish I just had an Apple channel. I wish I had just like a strictly tech, this is what you get every time you log on, super easy to delegate. I don't feel like I need to hop into the edit or the film or the writing for every single thing, and I can just pull up a chair and be the talent, right? Having a focused brand. There's a ton of benefit to it. It's an extension of you, but it's not all of you. You can establish formats and you can establish predictability for an audience, which actually has benefits. With a personal brand, I think there is more money in it, but it's less sustainable. You're more susceptible to burnout. So I feel like you're not as likely to sustain it more than like 5 to 7 years, 5 to 10 years if you're lucky. I mean, think about the most iconic personal brands. You have Casey Neistat. At his peak, he was one of the most influential, I don't even want to say creators, but just like one of the most influential people online, period. The branded projects he was doing, I'm sure, were astronomical. Because it's so him in the videos, people were so invested. He got opportunities to angel invest in companies that just no one else would, you know, upside. But the peak of his vlogging, even though it was insane to do it every day for like 3 years, 4 years, it stopped. It had an end date. There's no way that you're vlogging every day or just vlogging once a week, sharing your personal life for more than 5 to 7 years. It's just not sustainable. So hopefully you're kind of visualizing those two buckets and you can start thinking about this early on in your journey and not kind of like looking in the rear view mirror and like wishing, right? You can build like a real services business too. It doesn't have to be what, you know, all these YouTubers are doing. Like I had this idea the other day, which I feel like would be so fun, but I don't know if a ton of people need this. I love camera gear so much and setting up sets. If I could replace like a fraction of my income with going and setting up podcast sets for people or video sets, putting together like a Sony package, a Blackmagic package, you know, Canon, what do you need? Do you need live switching? Hire a couple freelancers and just, you know, I'm in LA, I bet people need that. Companies have internal podcasts. It's a thing. That would be such a blast for me. And then there's not as much pressure on that front end to like be a personal brand, to get the views, because I mean that's an exhausting game, right? So you can steal that idea. I'm probably never going to do it. But there's a lot of stuff like that where if you think maybe what is your service first and then think of content in the background to market it, it might be just a more sustainable way to build that focused brand first, right? And you don't have to go and get views, go and get influence, and then figure out how to monetize it. Okay. Oh, I didn't anticipate talking about that I mean, guys, this is just a podcast. This is what this is. This is a podcast. This will probably be like a 40-minute video. All right, step number 3 here, selling a product. We're gonna set the iPad aside. It's just you and me and my stories. Let's start with something I call the Elon Musk effect. I feel like everyone nowadays feel like they have to be an Elon Musk to be successful. You gotta have SpaceX, Tesla, Twitter, AKA X, boring company. You gotta be running 4 to 5 different companies or projects to feel successful. YouTubers get in this trap all the time. They build up influence, they're making good money, but this is what I hear all the time. And I was victim to this too. I said this for like 3 years. Man, I just want to build something that's bigger than myself. I just want to build something and just like retire to the Maldives and sit on the beach, right? Or maybe it's like the dream, like the Levels IO dream, right? Where you're just like, I'm just gonna I'm gonna be an indie hacker, build a few tools and sit on the beach and just rake in the money, man. Okay, where this is so wrong is people don't understand that if you are going to be a content creator first, doing anything with video specifically, I don't think people realize how many hats you have to wear. There are so many things that you have to do, and it is a very rewarding job, but it is exhausting, and you can't be a successful YouTuber and also like a successful CEO. But Sara, Mr. Beast, but Sara, Elon Musk, there's always exceptions. But look at the huge team that these people have around them. Mr. Beast is not an artist. He is not worried with how his video looks and feels and vibes. He has views. He's taking a very pragmatic approach to YouTube, right? And so that is not the majority. Like the Elon Musk and Mr. Beast thing, guys, that is the minority, and I think a lot of people striving for that is leading to the craziest burnout that I've ever seen in my life, me included, right? I've given up on that. And what is such a big bummer about that is a lot of times it's when you're in the height of your influence. When you could make bank from doing those brand deals, you can make bank by doing a very more simple version of it, of like building a course or making LUTs or you know, selling merch, right? But you split your focus on this big idea. I mean, think about Casey putting all of his focus into Beam instead of doing like the Samsung brand deals times 20. Right? I mean, he ended up selling Beam for 25 million, so I wouldn't say that was a failure at all, but again, that's the minority, and it is so hard to do both. So I'm here to just say, it's okay to just be a YouTuber, to just be a creative. You do not have to have a $100 million exit to feel successful. If you want that, if that's what you're striving for, the lifestyle business startup diagram, just do that first. Don't worry about being a YouTuber. It's like CEOs want to be YouTubers, YouTubers want to be CEOs. It's just chill, guys. They're both a lot of work. Another huge reason why this Elon Musk effect can be a problem when building a product, again, physical or digital, is because if you are a creator first, you just have such limited time that often you farm out a lot of the responsibility to a partner. I wish I could put a factual percentage to this, but just my vibe is this goes wrong like 90% of the time. Multiple examples in the news happening right now. You have that podcast ad network that basically promised, oh my gosh, you're gonna get crazy podcast ad rates, all of the money. Just sign the dotted line here. We're gonna do all the work. You don't have to be in the emails. We're just gonna send you a check every month. It's gonna be easy. And guess what? They got scammed. Huge podcasts like Theo Von podcast, Whitney Cummings, all of those comedians. Scammed. Okay, cool. Another example, Fanjoy. They're getting sued right now. They are a merch company that went to these creators and said, hey, we're gonna do everything for you. You don't have to do a thing. Oh, that sounds good. Sign me up, right? Wrong. They owe so many people money. And in the documents, there's actually like creators' names. Like that super cute TikToker. She makes really relatable TikToks. I forgot her name. I'll put her up here. You can see in the documents. They owe her over $80,000. I've been on the receiving end of this. Like, you guys don't get it. How often creators get taken advantage of. But the biggest red flag that you have to look for is when you have a little bit of success and someone comes along, company comes along, oh, hey, you want to do that thing? You want to make merch? You want to make this product? You want to do a course? Oh, but it's so much work. Hey, we'll come do all of the work for you. But the only thing is you just have to put your product on our platform, but we'll take care of all the work. Oh, that sounds great, right? You're so busy already. You're so tired already. So of course you say, sign me up, right? You're not getting paid. If you do not own your customers, if you don't see the first, last name and email and a little number of how much money they spent in your online portal or wherever you are probably not getting paid. You do not own that customer. And so that's like the biggest thing I want to say about this section, the step number 3, the physical or digital product, taking that next step for the success of this product. It has to start with you. Get real comfortable saying no. Get super comfortable saying no. I'm just now practicing this skill. You gotta learn how to like Heisman people, okay? There's gonna be, hey, oh my God, you need to do this. No, shut up. I don't need to do it. Hey, what about this? Have you ever thought about this? Oh, I have thought about it. It'd be really cool if this existed in the world. Great, I'm gonna go do it, make it so, no! And a lot of those times, you don't even want to make that thing in the first place. So this product has to be so ingrained in you that you will figure it out how to make that MVP, that minimum viable product. So this person over here who said he'll be my co-founder and they're just like an amazing coder and I can just hand everything off to them. No, stop. Don't do it. Just the small difference that you have to do is, yes, go find that co-founder that's going to help you, but everything from the start has to start with you. So that means you go on Upwork and you hire a programmer to make the MVP if you can't do it. And if you don't want to do that initial work, then you don't have enough time anyways, and don't do it. You can tell by how passionate I'm getting is because this is me talking to Sara from a couple years ago. I wish I had this Sara on my shoulder that was like, don't do it. Or not don't do it, just do it different. Because then if you do that, it's all on you. You have the control. You get to see if there's even any traction to it, because you don't want to spend several years developing a product that you don't know that people will even use. A specific example of this, 3 or 4 years ago, I was friends with a coder buddy and he showed me something really cool. A software tool. And I was like, oh my gosh, this blows my mind. If I could take this and do this, and here's my idea on what we could do, it would be so useful. And there's 2 parts of this. It was essentially AI software before the structure was actually there for that. Nowadays, in the heyday of AI and all of these products being made, oh yeah, it would have killed if we created it 1 year ago, but because we were thinking about it 4 years ago, and the things that we were using via AWS and transcription tech just wasn't there, that was a big problem. But the second biggest problem was kind of like clashing viewpoints. I know what it's like to be a video editor. It is so hard for us to use new programs. Premiere ruined my life for like 3 years, but it took me that long to switch to Resolve because I was so comfortable in Premiere. I knew it like the back of my hand. Why would I want to learn something new? And so my ideal world for this AI software was a plugin that goes in other software. But the upside for a plugin monetarily just isn't as big as it would be if it was his own dedicated app. And so we tried to build this own dedicated app, which was, my co-founder's thinking, because he was more from the place of go big or go home, right? And it just didn't work out. Of course, the timing was not the best, but the own dedicated app thing, if it's something that I'm not going to use, it's not something that other people are going to use, right? So yeah, when you're building a product and you're not building a product that is going to be $100 million business or, is going to go public, you're not building that. You just have to have ownership over the customer. You have to have ownership over the vision, because ultimately it has to be something that is coming from you. Like the problems that you have throughout your day, it has to be a business that solves problems that aligns with your audience so that it can be an extra revenue generator. And the thing that I'll end with products is digital products are just so much easier than physical, okay? If you're thinking about making a physical product, don't. And then number 2, if you're just like, okay, Sara, that's rude. What if I was meant to make physical products, like the advanced physical products beyond merch, right? Merch is easy now because you have awesome services like Printful, so you don't have to worry about going to China and looking at samples, right? But the advanced physical product is so hard and the margins are so low that is more of like a 10-year journey. And that's why I would say if you want to build physical products, like do it like Peter McKinnon. He has Pete's Pirate Life. It's small collections, they're collector items, right? So they're a little bit higher in price, but the stress is less because he's not trying to like compete with like a Logitech or something. Think collector's items. So that's the brain space that you want to be in. And yeah, the successful physical products, advanced physical products companies, I would instantly put them in just, oh, you're gonna start a real business. It's very rare to have a good lifestyle physical product business because you need so much scale in order to just make hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit, and it's exhausting, right? And so, yes, okay, man, there's actually more things I wanna say, but this is just gonna turn into a 2-hour video. I literally have more pages of notes. But I'm glad we talked about the partner thing. I mean, just that's something that I hope you take out of this is just always try to do it yourself, If Skillshare comes along and says, hey, we're gonna promise you this, that, and that, and it seems like a good deal, and oh my gosh, I'm making so much money the first few months, but oh wait, why am I, only getting paid $20, $30 a month now? I'm on month 6 and I feel like I'm selling it and it's doing well. Well, their payment structure changed, right? You don't own the customers. You don't own the people that are watching that course. So you are at the behest of Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is good if you don't have an audience. And so maybe you make a killer course and you build a brand off of Skillshare because they have an audience, right? But if you already have an audience, do that extra little work and build your course, build your program around tools that you can own so that you can have full control, full ownership of that. And you see, you know, Bob coming through, buying your course for X amount, and you know exactly the amount of money that you're gonna get after like transaction fees and stuff like that. So I think we're done here. Are you guys tired after watching that video? Because I'm exhausted. I'm sorry if this was so much, but I'm hoping it helps some of you. And if it does, just hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button down there. And hey, if you wanna make some awesome merch with a trustful partner where you have full ownership on what is going on, check out my Printful link in the description below. Oh, and until next time, everyone, stay peachy. Okay, bye. Yeah, sorry I failed at Techtober. I just opted out this year. I said no, thank you. That's it.